Welcome everybody back to the Friar Talk podcast and YouTube channel. For today's video, we're going to be previewing the Padres-Phillies series. Padres played early in the year, but right now the Phillies they're on a 3-game losing streak, but they've been playing a lot better as of late. Bryce Harper is playing in this series. He did not play last time around. Bryce Harper is one of the best players in the game. Right now he's over 1,000 OPS, so this series is likely to look a lot different. But when we start looking at the projected pitching for this series, we have Joe Musgrove for the Padres, Mackenzie Gore, and then give me 1 second. I think it's Snell, Darvish, Saturday, Sunday. And then for the Phillies, they have Nola against Gore tomorrow. And today they have, Ranger Suarez, who's last year he had great numbers, but mostly coming out of the bullpen. This year, mid-4 ERA. Decent enough numbers, pretty high whip though, so he struggled a little bit. Definitely an advantage tonight for the Padres. Isaac, I know you're going to be going to this game. Jake Cronenworth bobblehead night. Joe Musgrove's on the bump. How do you feel about this series, and how do you feel about tonight's game first and foremost?
This is my first time watching Joe Musgrove, and that's not even the reason I'm going. I mean, I wanted that Jake Cronenworth bobblehead. I needed that Jake Cronenworth bobblehead. So I'm very excited to go tonight. I think this matchup is really exciting. I mean, I know the Phillies didn't start very hot, but they went like on a 9 or 10 game win streak, lost one, won another, lost one, and then won on a 5-game win streak. They are a very hot team, even though they are on a 3-game losing streak. They are playing really good baseball right now. I'm looking at the MLB statistics for team stats. They are now 9th in OPS. Let me go to average. They are 12th in average. I mean, they're a good hitting team. They are a really good hitting team. Bryce Harper, like you said, is basically having another MVP type season. Even if he hasn't played all the games, just from a stats perspective, he is definitely having another MVP type season. That's a team that's coming around right now. I'll talk about the pitching stats next time we come around. But right now, when you look at just from a pure hitting perspective, they've been one of the best teams in baseball recently. Even in home runs, they're 6th in home runs with 88, actually tied for 5th. So there's nothing much to say about their hitting. They've been a very good lineup. And I think that was kind of their strength going into the season when they signed Schwarber. They got Castellanos. They got a couple different guys that have been known to hit for power and be able to hit for average as well, but mainly for power. And that's kind of what you're seeing out of that lineup. A lot of home runs, a lot of slugging, decent average, but what's helping out their OPS and actually helping them win is their slugging. So I don't know if I expect that. I really hope I don't see that against Joe Musgrove because I want to leave happy. But that is a good team. That's a lot better team than we saw last time we played them. So hopefully the Padres are still able to come out with the W. I think we have the pitching matchups to be able to do it. I know Manny's out, but I mean our lineup has still produced runs against the Diamondbacks, who at one point were one of the best starting pitching staffs in baseball.
You mentioned Manny's up, but like we talked about in the live stream, it's kind of one man goes down, another man picks up the slack, and so far it's been Ha-seong Kim. I mentioned in the live stream that in his last 15 games, he's hitting 294 with an over 100 OPS. Looks like he's coming around. He's been pretty clutch in the last series. Tomorrow's game, I think, is going to be the most interesting because you have the Nola brothers, if Nola does start tomorrow, kind of battling it out. You have a brother versus brother, one at the plate and one on the mound. I think that's pretty funny to look. Just kind of a good time to go see. Hopefully, he hits his brother pretty well, hopefully, because this Padres team is definitely going to need some timely hitting. Though we've had Profar come on fire recently, Grish get a couple hits, Kim starting to swing the bat pretty well. If Alfaro's starting, Alfaro's been tearing it up recently. So I think we're in a good position. Speaking of pitching stats, so Suarez, like Matt said, he has a mid-4 ERA. Musgrove is, I think, leading the NL, if not being the second best. Tomorrow we have Gore with a 3.64 and Nola with a 3.11. That will be a really close matchup. Gore's ERA is a little inflated from the last 2 Rocky starts. I think he puts on a much better performance this time around. Saturday and Sunday, Phillies starters are to be decided, so don't know what they're going to do there. Snell, he does have a 5.46 ERA, but that's also a little bit inflated. He tends to get into trouble, and then they take him out, and then the next guy that comes in usually gives up the runs that are on base already. We've seen it a couple times. I know Stammen gave up, I believe, a 3-run shot as soon as Noah was taken out with him. And then we have our staple in Darvish, which his ERA is inflated from the Giants game, but it's a 3.17. He's been the rock outside of Musgrove. Darvish has been absolutely incredible. I expect us to take 3 out of 4. I know this Phillies lineup has a lot of power hitters. It's got a lot of slugging in there, but our pitching staff has faced some much stronger teams and have come out with victories. So I expect at least 3 out of 4. Worst case scenario, I think we split, but I don't expect this team to lose.
Yeah, and looking into those Saturday, Sunday games, so it's likely. I'm not exactly sure which days the guys will be pitching, but it's expected that it will be Kyle Gibson and Zach Eflin, just because Zach Wheeler pitched the Phillies last game. So those are the two guys that should be up. I don't know who's going to go first. Don't know the order of that, but you look at this pitching staff. Zach Wheeler's the guy you don't want to face. That is the guy that you don't want to face. So the Padres are lucky that they're not going to be playing against him. Aaron Nola, he is fantastic. He is one of the best younger pitchers in the game. So going to have your work cut out for you on Saturday. But Gibson, he has over a 4 ERA. I already brought up Suarez mid-4. Eflin actually has the same. Both Suarez and Eflin have a 4.43. So those are all guys you should be able to hit. So you look at this matchup, hitting-wise, Kyle Schwarber's hit a ton of bombs. He has over 800 OPS, but he's only hitting 214. It's a classic Kyle Schwarber kind of year where most of the production is coming from his power. Bryce Harper, I mean, Isaac, you already brought it up. Bryce Harper is putting up MVP caliber numbers. And also, he only missed like a week of the season. He hasn't really missed too much, so I don't think it's that bad. Hoskins is having a good year. Castellanos is having an awful year. I think you guys are probably hearing the sirens coming through. So question for you guys. What are the overall predictions? I'm taking Padres 3-1 in this one.
I want to say split. I am a little scared for Mackenzie Gore. I think I'm more confident in Blake Snell's start than I am Mackenzie Gore's start. I'm only scared for Mackenzie Gore because he is a young pitcher going against a very, very hot lineup. And I mean, the Rockies aren't a good lineup by any means. The Rockies just seem to have the Padres' number for some reason. But I mean, we've talked about Mackenzie Gore. We talked about him yesterday and how, his expected ERA is still pretty high. His baseball savant isn't terrible, but it's not exactly like the beginning of the year Mackenzie Gore type of thing where really right now the only pitch really working for Mackenzie Gore is his fastball, which has taken a dip in velocity recently. I'm not trying to bash Mackenzie Gore. I love Mackenzie Gore. I think he's great. I think he's going to be great. But I think recently I am a little scared for his start. I mean, Bryce Harper's hot. Like you brought up Kyle Schwarber's power. That is a hot lineup right now. So I am a little scared. I don't think I'm like, super negative towards that start. I'm feeling iffy about it. But I do think if we go 3-1, I do think Gore's start might be the one we lose. I said I was going to bring up the Phillies pitching stats. Right now, their starters are 11th in ERA. The Padres starters are 5th in ERA. So, the Padres starters have definitely been really good. Second in the NL. I mean, we said it. We said the Padres were going to be a top 5 rotation. We knew how good they were going to be. I think all the Padre fans knew how good they were going to be. It's just a matter of outside. Definitely not all of them, if you look at our comments of one of those videos. But I would say most of the fan base knew, like, okay, we got the depth, especially when we got Minaya. When we got Minaya, it was even better. But I don't think many other people thought they were going to be that good. I'm trying to find the relievers ERA for the Phillies. The Phillies relievers are 20th in
I got
ERA.
you right now.
The Padres are 9th. Oh, I got it. Did you get it?
So the Phillies currently have a 4.27 ERA, their bullpen, and ours are sitting at a 3.41.
Yeah. So I mean, if we're gonna win this, I mean, it's not like their starters are great, but if we're gonna win this, we should get to their bullpen early. We're gonna have to get to their bullpen early. I think that's kind of been the recipe for the Padres' success. I think that's the recipe for anybody's success, really. But for the Padres specifically, it's getting those starters out of the game early and getting to the bullpen. That's what the Padres are really good at. They take a lot of pitches, and that's when they usually win the games, is when they're very disciplined at the plate. But like I said, I think a split is something that I think a split's going to happen. but I wouldn't be surprised if it's 3-1. I do think we're going to win both of Darvish and Musgrove's start. I pray to God we win Musgrove's start because, dude, I've been to the what, two or three games this year, and they've lost 2 and won 1. And the one they won was incredibly boring. So I hope they win this one.
Can't be worse than watching a walk-off on National Beer Day, but I digress. So yeah, like Isaac was saying, we're gonna need to get to the bullpen early. They have a couple really good guys and a couple guys that are struggling. Corey Knebel seems to be their closer. He's sitting at a 3.5 ERA right now. Dominguez has a below 2. Brad Hand has been pitching pretty solid this year. The rest of them have been all right. There's been a couple guys with kind of not enough innings to really tell where they're gonna go, but that's sort of one of the places that the Phillies have been weaker in. I know they tried to bulk up on their bullpen pieces during the offseason because if you looked at it last year, I think they were ranked like 28th in the league. They were really down there in their bullpen. If you got to the Phillies bullpen, basically you won the game. It's not as easy this year, but that's still their weak point, and that's where you got to attack it. You really got to be patient. You got to let Profar lead off every game. Let him just be really patient with these pitchers, get them out of the game early, and that's the recipe for success.
Chase, what's your series predictions in terms of how it's going to play out?
Like I said, I think we take 3 out of 4. Worst case scenario, we split. I don't think we do a 4-game sweep, just because I'm hoping it was Gore just struggles against the Rockies, and the Rockies is Gore's kryptonite, but that game could go either way.
Yeah, it's always tough when you're facing Aaron Nola too. And last year he was great against the Padres as well. I think that's worth mentioning. I do think it's a big plus that Zach Wheeler's not pitching in the series. If Wheeler was pitching, I think you could easily make the argument that the Phillies would take 2 or 3 of them if he was pitching one of those back-end games. But looking at the pitching matchups, I think the Padres have the advantage in, I guess, on paper in half of them. But I'm feeling a good Blake Snell start. I don't think we've really brought that up lately. And I feel like I'll be critical of Snell too. Like I'll be like, yeah, I don't know. Like I don't think he's gonna have a good outing. I think I said that in Colorado. Snell at home on Saturday. I'll rock with Snell at home on Saturday. I think he's gonna have a good start. He's been looking better. I know that if you just look at only the numbers, it doesn't look that good. But we brought it up. The last 2 starts, he's left the game with a couple guys on, and then they've came in and scored, and his box score looks way worse. His outing looks way worse than it actually was. Another thing that's been a really positive thing for Snell is he's been getting ahead of like the counts a lot better. And early on in the game, he's not been throwing a bunch of pitches. And what we've seen is when he's throwing 30 pitches in the first inning, that's when it's like, oh, Blake Snell looks terrible. He hasn't really been doing that lately. I think he's improving as this year's gone on. We've talked about how as the year goes on, he gets way better. His pre-All-Star versus his post-All-Star career numbers, and he's pitched a lot of innings in his career. It's like a full ERA, a full run in his ERA differential right there. So he's going to get a lot better. And for that reason, that's why I think they're going to take that game as well. So I'm going to say 3 out of 4. Would I be surprised if it's a split or even the Phillies win 3 out of 4? No, because the Phillies have been playing a lot better. And also one thing that's worth mentioning is they start out the year slow. They're well over 500. They're in the hunt for a wild card spot, and they start out the year bad. So they've been looking a lot better. So it could play out differently, but I think the Padres take this series 3 out of 4. And either way, it's definitely tough. You don't have Manny, you don't have Tatis in this one, but Padres have been getting some offense from other areas, and I think that's going to have to be how they win these games. And like Chase said, getting to the bullpen, having a couple big innings in this series will go a long way to winning it. But I think that's all we got for today. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about some trade deadline stuff, so make sure to tune in for that. No episode Saturday, and then Sunday we'll be doing a recap for this series, probably somewhere between 30 minutes to an hour after the game ends, maybe right after the game ends. Not exactly sure on the time. But on Sunday morning, we will post that live stream beforehand, so you'll see when it's scheduled. But I think it's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you all for listening, and we'll talk very, very soon.